if I pronounced your name correctly, to come here to talk about ritual and science in Hinduism. So we are very pleased to have him. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and coming to the class. So without further ado, I leave the floor to you. So please have your lecture. Thank you very much.
Good evening, friends. I'm Kavita Bhaskaran, coming from Sydney, Australia. I'm a financial controller working in a private company in Sydney, and I'm also doing some voluntary service for behalf of global organization for Divinity in Sydney. And this is a non-profit organization formed by the great saint, His Holiness Sri Muralidhara Swamiji. This is a worldwide movement which has its headquarters in India and also other branches in other parts of the world like America, Australia, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Singapore, Malaysia, and now in New Zealand. Today's topic that Dr. Bhagyaji is to speak is about timeless wisdom of our scriptures. We have also, at this moment, I would also like to say that we have opened up a global organization for Divinity chapter here in New Zealand. The contact details for this organization here in New Zealand will be given later at the end of the program. So without taking much of your time, I would like to introduce Bhagyaji to the stage now, and he will take over. Please give him a big hand. Thank you.
Very good evening to it's such a pleasure and privilege for me personally to be here. I come from India, and I form part of this organization, and the only motive of which is to open up our minds to the possibility of the fact that the very traditional practices that have been there in all cultures, I would particularly be talking about the Indian culture, which has a very, very ancient tradition and richness about that, to open up the possibility of the deep meaning of all of those things and how it is relevant in today's context, how modern science and all of the advancements that we are going through are very much on par with what has been said thousands of years ago and really not in conflict. So that is going to be the object of this this talk that I wish to give, and some of the points that I wish to share with you. The inspiration for me, who has led me into this. This is my master. His name is Muralidhara Swamiji. He lives in India, from where I come from, and he is the one that opened up, people like myself. There are lots of us like this to such things. It's so wonderful. And to know and enjoy all of these, and it's that small intent or the motivation to share what I learned with friends like you that has even led us to embark on this journey. That's how it started. That's where it's going, and that's how I got to meet wonderful people like you today here. So he is our inspiration. He is one of the greatest living saints today in India. About the temples which are very, very unique to Hindu culture. We have some really big temples in India. If you ever happen to travel to India, you should have a look at some of them. They are beauties. They are beauties in their own sense, in the way in which they have been constructed, in the kind of art that's involved in it, the sculptures, the beauty of the whole thing is amazing. And I particularly picked this one, which is known as the Big Temple. It's a very big temple. Literally, it's a very big temple. It is known as a big temple also. It is located in South India, in this town that's known as Tanjore. That's the name of the place. And that temple, it's a temple of Lord Shiva, who's one of the very important gods in Hinduism. There's something very unique about the temple, because right at the entrance, if you can see, you find these two people standing there, like guards, like sentries. They're standing there. There are lots of images on the internet. You'll find if you search for this name, you'll find two of them. They are like the guards, guarding the entry to the temple. That's how you enter the temple. It's like a fort, and you enter past the guard, and the god is within. That's how it's located. And the way they have been represented, you'll find something very unique. These guards, underneath their foot, you will find that they have put their foot on the head of a snake. They're stamping a snake, and if you look very carefully, in the mouth of the snake, you will find an elephant. The snake is about to swallow an elephant. It's there, and the guard has put his foot on top of that snake. And he's holding it, and that's how he's positioned at the entrance of this temple. And when you see that, it makes you wonder if it's one of those stories, those, the fairy tale type of stories, where such things are said. There was the snake, and it was so big, and it swallowed an elephant, and things like that. Was it done to show something like that? What are they trying to represent? You're wondering. But I would tell you how the king who constructed this temple viewed this. If what he thought was his god, for him, that Shiva was his favorite. He wanted to really build something huge for him. Like we would want to gift, if there's somebody that we like very much, very dear to us, we would want to give them something very special. We would want to express ourselves that way, wouldn't we? Same way for him, this was very special. He wanted to do something to show that, to express that, to show how great his affection was to that God, or to show how great that God was to the whole world. That was his idea. So what he tried to show in that representation is, if you know how big an elephant is. It's really big. If you've seen an elephant, it's really big. So picture an elephant, and if there is an elephant standing right there, and a snake that can actually swallow an elephant, how big would that snake be? How big would that be? It's more of an imagination or a projection. It's going to be really huge, really huge. If an elephant could fit in the mouth of that snake, it's going to be a really big snake. And if there is a man who can actually very casually put his foot on the head of that snake, how big would that man be? How tall would he be? That would be really tall and really strong, really huge. And if that man were to guard a particular entrance, how big the entrance would be? That would be really big. And if the entrance or the doorway itself is that big, how big would the guard be inside? That's really what he's trying to show. We know that today. That's why I put a very comparative concept which we use today in maps. We use a scale, isn't it? It's like, we know how big the world is, but it's in a small piece of paper. The whole world map is in a small piece of paper, and in the corner, you will find 1 centimeter equals 2,000 miles. So you have to measure the distances and multiply it and magnify it to actually know how far it is. It's a representation of the magnification, the scale, as we call it, in cartography. That's how maps are drawn today. And don't you think that this is very similar to what he tried to do too? But he's trying to show, see, this is what I wanted to show the world. This is how great he is, how big he is. And this is how big I wanted to build it. But all the available resources that I had, I put in and I built this. But I want you to know that this is really how big he is. He's really huge. He's really the greatest. And this is what I want to show the world, was the intent of showing that. It's not that there was a snake that swallowed an elephant and a man was tempted. No. It's a very, very beautiful way, a very nice way of representing that magnification, that degree. The scale has been so beautifully shown, and if you look at those statues, they're all carved from a single stone, monolithic, from a single rock. They have carved it. There's no joints in that. They've done it so beautifully, and they're so tall. They're so tall. If you're ever going to go to India, you must have a look at that. And that temple itself is known as a big temple. It's a beautiful one. And that's how it's been shown. So again, coming back, see how it matches. How it matches. How can I say that they were talking about all of this, which is very, very, it's a myth. It's not real. How can I say that? I would probably say that if I am not able to see things in that light. In that light, it would probably appear like, okay, they're talking about a snake. Come on, this has to be a myth. It's really not special. Going on with the temples again, temple architecture. This is something that represents the finest architecture that you will find among the ancient ones. because the ancient temples in India, the Hindu temples that you find, are very big. They're very big and they're mostly made from granite, the stone granite, and they've all been carved so beautifully, and many of them would be made from a single stone. It's very beautiful to see how they have done that. There are any number of temples, hundreds and thousands of them, located all over this great land, and you will find that kind of architecture in all of them. And I particularly want to point to this temple that's located in this place called Rameshwaram, which is a place that's located again close to south of India. It's on a small island that's in the middle of the sea, and this is a place that's very prone to tsunamis. In fact, part of that land itself has gone under the ocean. It's not there anymore. The extent is slowly shrinking, and every time there is some kind of an event there, this is one of the places that's always hit. This island is always hit, this Rameshwaram. And the one thing about Rameshwaram, the one thing about it that puts it on the map of India itself is this temple. This beautiful temple that is located in Rameshwaram, which is very, very big. It's several hundreds of square kilometers big. It's very huge. The town itself is just around this temple. That's how it is. And this temple, even if we were to go by some of the research that has been done, it's rather inconclusive, but even if we were to go by that, it's still thousands of years older. But there are many that believe that it's even older than that. But even if you take the minimum, it would still be thousands of years older. And that's how long these temples were built. And the beauty of this whole thing, as we read with the pyramids and all of that, is that nowhere in this island or anywhere near it, in the area that surrounds it, in the mainland that surrounds it, you would find the stone that has been used to construct this. Geographically, you won't find it. It's a fact of geology. It kind of makes us wonder where they brought all these stones from. It's not that they had huge cranes or huge ships to ship all of this into the island, but they had done it. They have done it. And how do they manage to lift all of this and put it there? How do they work on that? How do they fix that? It's a very, very great puzzle, and people have different theories of how it could have been done, but the fact is that those stones are not from anywhere in the vicinity, but this temple stands tall and proud to this day. And no tsunami and all of these events have caused any destruction or even a small disturbance in the architecture of the temple. It still stands there. It stands there. You will find every single building around it collapsing. The bridges that have been constructed with all the modern expertise that we have, they all have collapsed. Everything, sometimes something happens. How much ever they're reinforced, they're always damaged. But nothing has happened to this temple. And imagine how many tsunamis it would have gone through, how many of such events it would have witnessed. But to this day, it still remains. It still remains as a symbol that represents, again, the artistic manner in which they have constructed it, and also engineering excellence. They put so much strength in it that none of these things are moving this. They still manage to stand there tall and proud. Nothing has happened. So the combination, they were very good at building it. They were very good in the civil work. Plus, they could do it so beautifully. If you were to look at it from a sculpture point of view or an art point of view, you would still find lots in it. Things that cannot be reproduced even by trained sculptors in India today. People who have been doing it traditionally, they can't reproduce some of these statues. They find it very difficult. It's there. What I wish to point out effectively is there's lots and lots of the stuff. Like I told you, it's this ocean, as my master would always say. He would say this is an ocean. You can enjoy it as much as you want. It just keeps going on and on and on. But what we're trying to do is taste that tiny droplet. It's still going to be as sweet and enjoyable, but that's how much we can taste. And what I wish to point out is this is a small message that I want to leave all of you with, which is that let us approach this with an open mind, because I was very much one of those individuals with a very close approach to these things. For me, if it did not make sense to me, I would simply not accept it. You have to It has to make sense to me for me to be able to accept it. And when I was opened up to this, when things were explained to me in a manner in which I could take it, I could see so much meaning behind these rituals, behind what is being said in the scriptures, behind what our traditions and the ancestors represent, behind what the scriptures represent. I could see that. I could see that in a little way, in a very small way. I could see that. And that is really the message that I wish all of you to take you with. On that note, I think I will wind this up for this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And thanks to all of you for being here and being so patient. And I really enjoyed it myself. And I look forward to hopefully many sessions like this. We could certainly have it when I get to travel to New Zealand another time. Thank you.